guys, TinaGale here, and today I am working on a layout. I am working through Shimelle's new class, Clear the Desk. And so I'm going to put in a photo here because I've already cut into this kit. But I'm going to show all the papers and things, the kits that I created following her instructions in her class. And I'll go through the papers here. But I've already made the first layout, and so this is it. So you can see some of the papers. So I had this one as a full sheet and used it as a background. So it's gone from my kit now. But just using a lot of different odds and ends that I have left of collections to create a kit, which I've done before, and it's really fun, but I think this is one of the best classes that Shimelle has done. So it's really, even though I'm just getting started, it's been awesome. So I just wanted to go through real quick and just kind of show you the papers. Like I said, I've already cut into them, but I'll show you real quick some of them. So I have a lot of Shimelle's papers. This one's Elle Studio. This one's Shimelle's Little by Little. Pink Paisleys. And then this one I've cut into, which is Lovely Day with Dear Lizzie. And then another Shimelle. My last sheet is another print from Shimelle's Little by Little with the cameras and then the watercolor on the back. And then I pulled just some odds and ends embellishments that were left over from kits, things at the end of collections, and I've also pulled in just a little bit more as I created the first page. Then I went to my stash and found a few things that would go with that page. So I may add more things in, but that's just kind of what I've started with and what I'm pulled to work with. I'm also working through old photos. I talked about this in my previous videos where I took my oldest box of photos and I'm just trying to work through them and get as many scrapped as I can and get those stories told. So today I'm going to start with a white piece of cardstock. I'm going to do this paper, this cut apart, and I think I'm going to pull that in, and that's kind of all I know so far. And so I'm going to put you on fast forward and let's see what we can come up with for the second layout of Weeks 1 kit for Shimelle's class, Clear the Desk. One of the first things I knew I wanted to do was use this cut apart with these florals around it as a photo mat. And I needed something to go behind my photo to separate it from the busyness of the photo and the busyness of that floral background. So I'm using this pink, and I decided to use it down at the bottom. This is an ombre print, so I wanted the lighter pink. It kind of brings out the pink in the flowers and then the pink in their skin and their faces and stuff and makes them kind of pop off the photo there. And then I just matted it on that cut apart there, and I have some blue, so that's going to be a good contrast. I also had this cut apart with this little raccoon, and it says, "It's the little things." And I really wanted to try to tie that in, so I went ahead and cut it apart so that I would have it there on my desk and not forget about it. I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to use the whole thing and add my journaling, or if I was going to cut out that banner piece or what, but I just knew I didn't want to forget about it. And then when I cut this piece, since the cameras were up, I kept thinking, you know, well, I mean, it's a great print. It would have worked well for this photo, but this was not what I had in mind when I had these photos pulled out and had seen the example of Shimelle's in her lesson. There was actually the other paper that has the rainbow colored stripes, and that was the one that I wanted to use because I just felt like it gave a lot of movement. It was fun, lighthearted, and it went well with these photos. So even though I have this camera print here in a minute, I'm going to look over and see that other paper and go, oh no, that's what I wanted to use. So I'm going to end up cutting it. It's no big deal. I'll go ahead and use the camera print even though I've cut it down to a 6x12. But yeah, that was a big oops. And then one of the big things that Shimelle does is use fussy cutting from prints on your pattern paper as embellishments. And so that's what I'm doing here. I didn't have a lot of embellishments that kind of went with this story that I wanted to tell, but the cameras were great because this was just a snapshot of an everyday event. My kids would just be so excited waiting for their dad to get home every night after work so that they could play with him. And it didn't matter how tired he was. He would sit down on the couch sometimes, and like this is a perfect example, just tuckered out, but he was there. And they would play with him whether he was doing anything or not. So he had his feet up and they were riding horsey and just having a good old time. And you can tell he was tuckered out. And he works construction, and at this time he was working for himself, and so we never knew when he was going to be home. This was before cell phones and all of that, and so sometimes it would be daylight and sometimes it would be, you know, bedtime before he made it home, but they were always anxiously waiting for their daddy. So I really wanted to get this documented and the story told so that they would never forget it, and I won't forget it. And so now I'm just kind of playing with some different embellishments. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot in the stuff that I pulled that went well with it, so I decided to just kind of do like Shimelle and just make my own out of the pattern paper. I loved this circle paper and I knew I wanted to play some with it, but my circle punches weren't right, the exact right size. But, you know, I made do. I made some bigger, some smaller, and some I just, I punched out of this front side so that I would have repeating colors from that background piece that I put. So I'm just kind of tucking them in and going to go diagonally down the page with them, but pretty close to the clusters that I'm doing and pretty close to the photo, so I don't have them like sprinkled the whole way. I know she does that a lot on pages, but I have a hard time doing that, so I kept it kind of in closer to the photos and the embellishments. And either way is right. It's just you need to be consistent all the way. If you're going to sprinkle, sprinkle the whole way. Don't sprinkle at the top and then not at the bottom, but just be consistent in whatever is pleasing to you. So mine is just repeating the colors and getting enough circles of different sizes in each area of the clusters that I have going. So here I have this smaller cut apart with that raccoon, and I decided to go ahead and cut the bottom half off and fussy cut around that banner because I want to kind of pull that in. And I had this little strip that had these different colored of hearts, and I thought that was a perfect little addition to the embellishments because it brought all the colors in, but it brought also hearts, different kind of shape, and just repeated those colors. So I put those at the top and the bottom. And I didn't have enough to put in the middle there, so I had that branding strip that had all the numbers, and it kind of repeated colors as well, so it gave the same look even though it wasn't hearts. So I used that strip on top of the photo, and then that kind of inspired the title of this layout. So I'm going to have Countdown to Dad's Home, and then we have this whole string of numbers, so I thought that was fun. I am not very clever with titles, and I have a really hard time. So when I come up with something other than the obvious, it makes me happy. So I'm going to go ahead and pop dot the cameras up, and here I'm just fussing around trying to get all of the edges lined up where they should be, so I don't have any straight lines between embellishments and stuff. So I fuss around with that just a little bit. I'm trying to think what else that I kind of did, what I was thinking about when I was doing this, but it was really just kind of getting the colors right. And once I finished this and I had actually looked at it on camera here, you know, facing, I always see stuff that I don't see when I'm scrapbooking. It's just a different angle. So I always encourage you to set your layouts up, and sometimes when you're not feeling it and it just doesn't seem right, it's a good thing to just let it set for a day, but let it set up where you're looking straight on at it, and you'll pretty much see what the area is. And so on this, I add a little circle at the very bottom right towards the end, and I add different colors, and I'm repeating embellishments, but I should have ended down there with dark. And I think where I kind of missed that was I had the dark in the middle, and I have dark circles now at the bottom of the photo. But then when I added the ones towards the bottom, I should have kind of swapped those out. Like I think it's a gray and a turquoise one that I add at the very bottom right. I should have pulled that navy one that's under the photo, or even the navy and the pink, put that to the bottom and put that gray one up underneath those embellishments. So here you can see that gray one and how really if the blue was down there, it would carry across the page so much better. So I decided on my title at this point, and I wanted to do some of the gray since I had so much color everywhere else. So I'm just kind of showing you a sneak peek of the letters and the products that I used And then I just have a little bit of embellishing left. I have these puffy stickers from Amy Tangerine, and I decided to just repeat the colors throughout. I'm going to have a close-up here, and you'll see some little stickers, little black puffy stickers that I added and some words just to finish off that last little embellishment. I hope you enjoyed this and you're enjoying the rest of the layouts that I'm doing with Shimelle's Clear the Desk class. I have another one coming up, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love to have you subscribe, so click that little button there and you'll be notified when the new videos are uploaded. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.